Sleigh bells ringing, diamonds blinging, carols singing, favorite season. Sleigh bells ringing, diamonds blinging, carols singing, favorite season. They said, say Nick, what you got up in that bag, yeah. I got racks in my sack or in my bag, yeah. They said, say Nick, what you got up in that bag, yeah. I got racks in my sack or in my bag, yeah. Frozen, neck is frozen, catch me rolling.
Welcome to Saturday Morning Inspection. I'm Nick Rudman, joined as always by the man with the haircut straight out of Hollywood. That's Andrew Mize. We are not your big typical sports media show with the big budgets, the fancy suits, and the talking heads. We got to make up for it. We got to work ridiculously hard. We got to do our research. And as always, be ridiculously good looking.
That's right, Nick. They do say hair so good, some would call it a toupee, but that is definitely fake news. Not true at all. But like you alluded to, we're not big sports media. We don't have the big budgets. It's just us and what we can bring to the table. We don't have a graphics team of 1 million men. It's just us doing the best that we can. And doing the best that we can, we could use some help. You, the viewer, if you give us a like, a comment, a subscription, those things go so far. You wouldn't believe it. If you watch us on YouTube, Apple, or Spotify, we're at Saturday Morning Inspection. If you check us out on Facebook or Twitter, it's SMI Football Show. And as always, you can find all of our socials and some great late breaking news on smishow.com, our website. Nick, we have a really great show to us today. We got our gut check segment. We're going to make our game picks for the week. But I think it's time to get to work. All right, Nick, now that we're properly dressed in our work attire, I'll let you go first. Who do you have to get to work this week?
Look, I've got a guy who we didn't think he was going to be working anymore. That's head coach of the Chicago Bears, Matt Nagy. We all thought he was going to be fired. A bunch of different news outlets reported he was going to be fired after Thanksgiving after playing Detroit. Somehow, some way, he finds a way to get a road win against Detroit. Granted, Detroit stinks, but a win's a win. Matt Nagy keeps his job. He comes back after all that momentum, plays a good Arizona Cardinals team last week, and gets stomped. Look, you can blame it on Andy Dalton, who threw 4 picks, but at a certain point, Matt Nagy, you got to be a leader. You got to build an offense. You got to give your team a chance, and he's going to need it this weekend. They're going to Lambeau Field to play the division-leading Green Bay Packers, led by quarterback Aaron Rodgers, who the last time met with the Chicago Bears, declared for the world to hear that he owned the Chicago Bears. Matt Nagy, I don't know the Chicago Bears hierarchical structure, but I'm pretty sure Aaron Rodgers is not the owner. He is not your boss. You got to go to work this week. You got to get ready for him this weekend. You got to have a great game plan offensively. Get rookie Justin Fields going. Lead him to his best game of the year. Road game against the Packers. Showdown against Rodgers. You need to come up with a big game plan. Great play calls, great game management throughout the entire game. Let your defensive coaches go to work and come out with a big road win against division rival Green Bay Packers. I'm calling out Matt Nagy. You need to get to work.
Absolutely. I think this is probably like the only win that could save his job.
Oh, absolutely.
But it's interesting you brought up the Bears' big road win against the Lions, because that's who I'm calling out this week. Dan Campbell, MCDC, Motor City Dan, Detroit Lions head coach, after a huge victory last week. First victory of the season. You've got to get to work. You've shown that you can win. You've shown that you played a lot of close games. You've got to get to work and pull this team together and reel out some more wins if you want to be respected as a head coach in this league. If you don't, the league is going to think that you're the laughingstock. You can only get one miracle win throughout the season. That's just not acceptable. You got to kind of figure out how to get multiple wins. I'm expecting to at least see 3-4 wins by the end of the season, or else this will be a pretty disappointing season with a capable team that we have seen has taken good teams to overtime, one-score games constantly. So, Dan Campbell, you really have got to get to work.
Yeah, I agree. I think the biggest thing is right. Dan Campbell, he got his first win. Great job. He's a tough guy. He's a good leader. But how do you come about after getting your first win? How do you turn it around? And how do you have a big weekend as your team? They got the monkey off their back. Hey, sometimes it's easier to get one win than two. Dan Campbell needs to keep being the leader, get his team a second win. I like the pick. I tell you what, it's not a good sign for the AFC North that we call out two coaches from one division, right? I mean, that division may need to get to work.
Absolutely. Well, that's kind of, those are two big games that are going to happen this weekend. But that leads us into our gut check. Let's see if we pick the teams that we have selected to get to work. Do we think they can do it? Or are they just going to be a little bit of a farce? All right, Nick. So we are now in our gut check segment. Are you ready?
Let's do it. Let's get after it. Let's pick these games.
Number one, we've got the Pittsburgh Steelers versus the Minnesota Vikings.
Yeah, so this was the Thursday night game. I think Pittsburgh found a little lightning in a bottle with a big home win against Baltimore. Minnesota plays everybody close, and I think Minnesota wins a close game against Pittsburgh. Looking for a big game from receiver Jefferson here, and I'm going the Vikings.
Yeah, I was thinking the exact same thing. Pittsburgh didn't really impress me last week. They barely won against Baltimore. They didn't seem very capable on the offensive side of the ball. The defense, who was supposed to be superstar, they did pretty well, but still, they should have lost the game. But by Baltimore's either stupidity or daringness to go for two and not just duke it out in overtime, they managed to pull off a win. Next up, speaking of which, we have Baltimore versus the Cleveland Browns in Cleveland. What do you think about this game?
So this is a second straight game. Baltimore is playing on the road against a team that is desperate. I'm picking Baltimore to win this just because as bad as Jackson is playing, he hasn't been playing as bad as Baker Mayfield. I think this is Baker Mayfield's last chance to save his job. If he loses this game, his career in Cleveland is done if it's not already. But I'm thinking he's going to lose. I'm going the Ravens.
Absolutely. Baker just seems like not the guy. He's not who he was promised. He's not who he's portrayed in the commercials. So let's see if Lamar can bounce back. He's had a few tough weeks, battling off of an illness. He's come back. He had a tough game against the Browns, a tough game against the Steelers, but still he's kept the team in the game both times. I think he can do it again, and I hope to see a much better game than was played against Cleveland at Baltimore. Next game, we've got the Jacksonville Jaguars versus the Tennessee Titans. What do you think about this one?
This is kind of sneaky, right? Tennessee is decimated with injuries. Trevor Lawrence is starting to play a little bit better. He's taking care of the football. I'm going to go on a big limb here. I think Tennessee's lost to some bad teams this year, and I think they lose to another one. I'm picking the Jaguars to upset the Titans.
That's an interesting pick, and I could see it. A little bit of, a tight game. I don't know if I can follow that one, though. I'm going to have to pick Tennessee to win this game. But it's something that I could get behind. I could see. I really just want to check out, where is Urban Meyer going before the game in Nashville? Like, where's his head at? Is he at a honky tonk or is he looking over game film? That's really going to be the deciding factor. And I think the bars in Nashville are kind of enticing. That's where I'm thinking. But next up, we have the Las Vegas Raiders versus the Kansas City Chiefs. One team's on the decline. One team is on the ascent. Who do you got here?
So the Raiders are so week to week, right? They beat Dallas, lose to Washington. They play really well. They play really poorly. The Chiefs have been winning, but winning ugly. I guess you take ugly wins over pretty losses. I think, the Raiders defense is a little beat up. I think Heineke and Prescott, a lot of quarterbacks have had decent days against them. I think this is Mahomes' chance to have another big day. Remember, he dominated the Raiders in Vegas a few weeks ago. I'm going the Chiefs to stay on their winning ways.
Yeah, and this isn't so much me picking the Chiefs. This is me picking against the Raiders. I just don't think they're good anymore. They're reeling. It's going to be a tough rest of the season for them. So I'm going to agree with you there. Next up, New Orleans Saints, who have crazy cap woes, versus the New York Jets, who have quarterback woes.
So I'm going to kind of like you did where you're not going to pick the Raiders, can't pick the Raiders. I can't pick the Jets. They got absolutely blown out against the Philly team that was missing a few guys last week. Wilson has not played great. Saleh has done a terrible job on defense. Look, the Jets did not force a single punt against an Eagles team that was missing its starting quarterback. That is absolutely embarrassing. I am picking the Jets to lose here, probably by a big margin.
Nick, how dare you insult our Lord and Savior Gardner Minshew? This is a Hall of Fame quarterback that stepped on the field, and the Jets can do nothing but be at the mercy of what he wants to do with the ball. He's able to move it however he wants. But I kind of agree with you here. I think the Jets are a sorry team, and they just went up against the buzzsaw that is the Philadelphia Eagles, led by Gardner Minshew. But the Saints they're a tricky team, and I think Sean Payton's a good enough coach. He's not going to let a rookie coach and a rookie quarterback beat him. Next up, though, we have the Dallas Cowboys versus the Washington football team. Who do you have here?
So this game is tough. It's in Washington, both teams division game. Like we just saw with Baltimore, Pittsburgh last week, these things can go either way. I think this is going to be a close game. I'm giving a slight edge to Dallas here just because they're getting some of their guys back and getting a little healthier.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Dallas here. This is the divisional game, and I think Dallas has a lot to prove here. I think they've had some tough games the last few weeks, but I think this is a big bounce back game. I feel like, do we know if CeeDee Lamb will be back this week? Or he was kind of back last week.
Yeah, CeeDee Lamb should be back. Amari Cooper should be full strength. Hopefully Elliott's a little healthier after the mini bye after the Thursday night game.
Yeah, Dallas is getting healthier, and I think that a healthier Dallas beats a Washington football team. Finally, the end of the list I have here on my screen so far, before we go to column B, we have a pretty exciting game because I will be there. I will be at this game. I'm not saying it's going to be a good game, but I will be there. We have the Carolina Panthers versus the Atlanta Falcons, big divisional game. Who do you have here?
So I'm not going to watch this game. I'm going to have to talk to you after the game about the Panthers. They fired Joe Brady. We talked about it in our show earlier this week. What is their offense going to look like? I still think it's going to stink, so I can't pick the Panthers. I'm going to go Falcons here pretty big.
I think the person that I'm going to go to the game with will watch the show. So I kind of have to pick the Panthers here. And I'm going to justify it like this. This is the Panthers got the spark. They fire their offensive coordinator. This is one last hurrah for Matt Rule. Does he stink? Does he not? Atlanta is a tricky team to play against, but they just might be bad enough where if you can catch a little spark, that maybe you can beat them. I say the Panthers win this one, but they probably don't win many more after this. Next up, we have the Seattle Seahawks versus the Houston Texans.
So Seattle's coming off their best win of the year, and Houston just got killed. I'm going Seattle. Probably pretty big.
Seattle looks pretty mediocre, but Houston just looks miserable. Last week, they got absolutely destroyed. There's not really much to say here. This is going to be Seattle, and hopefully maybe they get a little bit more of a statement win, because their wins in the last few weeks, if they had them, were pretty sad, to say the least. Next up, we have MCDC and the Detroit Lions versus the Denver Broncos. What do you got going here?
So I'm going to go Denver here just because I think the Broncos have a better team. They're better at quarterback, better defense, better receivers. I wouldn't be shocked if Detroit gets another win, but I'm picking the Broncos.
And like I said last week, the curse has been broken. I no longer am forced to select the Lions. They have gotten a win, but guess what, baby? I'm not stopping. This is it. I'm picking the Detroit Lions to upset the Denver Broncos. I think that Denver necessarily isn't the greatest team, and if they play a rough game, I think Detroit is the kind of team that can sneak in there and beat them. But Denver is also a type of team where they've gotten kind of hot, and if they come up against a team, they tend to shut them out and win big early. So I think it's either going to be a shutout or a Lions victory. Next up, New York Giants, Los Angeles Chargers. What do you got going here?
So the Giants are hurt at quarterback. Jake Fromm, not Jake from State Farm, quarterback Jake Fromm may be playing and starting for the New York Giants. That's bad news. This would be a first career start. The Chargers are playing great football, coming off a dominating win over Cincinnati. Justin Herbert leads the league in quarterback rating. The Chargers by a lot.
Yeah, sorry, Teague. Jake Fromm isn't one of my favorite Georgia quarterbacks. I'd much rather it be Matt Stafford starting this game. And Mike Glennon looked pretty pitiful last week for the Giants. But yeah, I can't stick with the Giants here. Even if Daniel Jones was back, I would still have to lean towards the Los Angeles Chargers. Now we have San Francisco 49ers versus the Cincinnati Bengals. A really exciting, interesting matchup for this week.
Yeah, so this is basically an elimination game for one of these teams, most likely. Both are coming off bad losses. Both are right on the edge of the playoff picture in the AFC and the NFC, respectively. Both are in tough divisions. I think this is a lot of sort of Garoppolo and Shanahan potentially's last stand. They got to go to Cincinnati. They're playing a young quarterback. Joe Burrow hurt his pinky last week, so he's not going to be 100% with the throwing balls down. Maybe a little inaccurate. Maybe they get a chance to shut down Jamar Chase. Jimmy Garoppolo needs a big game. I'm picking San Francisco just because I feel like they have to win this game.
I tend to believe you here. I think that Cincinnati's been really hit or miss, and lately, and like you said, Burrow has been banged up, and I think that's what we're going to lean on. I think if they can lean on Chase a little bit, try to slow him down, San Francisco can come out of this one, but I'd say it will be a tight game. Buffalo Bills versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
This is really, really tough because the Buffalo was a Super Bowl contender, but they're 7-5. I mean, they may miss the playoffs the way this is going. And this is they got beat by the Patriots, good team. They got demolished by the Colts, good team. They even lost to the Jaguars. I don't know how good this Buffalo team actually really is. And Tampa's playing really, really well. I'm not going to bet against the Bucs and Tom Brady here. I'm going Tampa, and I think the Bills just continue their free fall.
Absolutely. I think Tom Brady has the secret sauce against this Buffalo team. Played against them for years in New England, and there's nothing to say that he won't do the same thing he did there in his new division with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So I am picking the Bucs to win this one. I think it'll probably be a big win as well because Buffalo can give up a big win. Now, you spoke on this game earlier in your Let's Get to Work segment. Let's see if you believe in your coach. This is Matt Nagy's Chicago Bears versus Aaron Rodgers, Matt LaFleur-led Green Bay Packers. What do you got going here?
So this is all shaping up big for Matt Nagy, right? I mean, this is Justin Fields comes back. They're getting a little healthier. Dynamic running quarterback. Defense is playing better. Running quarterbacks have given Green Bay a little bit of trouble. Kyler Murray, did it. See, Russell Wilson was able to create some plays when he played the Packers. This is a game, I kind of feel like this is Matt Nagy's last stand. If he wins this game, he keeps his job. If he loses it, he doesn't. I mean, everything says Chicago really needs this win, and everything says that Green Bay is just better than Chicago in 20 out of 22 positions. I'm picking Green Bay.
Yep, I'm going to agree with you there. You give me Justin Fields, you give me Aaron Rodgers, take Aaron Rodgers every time. Give me Matt LaFleur versus Matt Nagy. I'm taking Matt LaFleur. So there's no question here. Finally, this is actually a pretty interesting game. The rematch, Los Angeles Rams versus Arizona Cardinals in Arizona. What do you think here?
So this is huge because Arizona demolished LA in LA earlier this year. LA's only win in the past 5 weeks was against a very, very bad Jaguars team. LA needs this. We talked about the Bills in free fall. This could be the LA Rams in free fall. And guess what? I'm thinking they're free falling. I'm like Tom Petty, baby. The Rams are free falling. I'm picking the Cardinals.
That's a very interesting selection you have here. With all the controversy surrounding Cliff Kingsbury, possibility a transfer to Oklahoma, the Cardinals, they've had some concerns, but they're able to gut it out. And here's the kicker. LA's had no controversy, and they suck. They've been flat terrible. I don't know. I picked them to win the Super Bowl early. I don't even know if they're going to make it anymore. Like you said, just like the Bills, I don't have much confidence in LA coming into this game against a very good team. If it was a losing team with a losing record, I would select them. But it's not, so I'm going to agree with you. Arizona Cardinals. And that is it. We've picked another successful slate of games. Let's see how they stack up this week. Nick, do you have any final words?
No, just thanks for everyone who stuck around and watched us or listened to us, whether you watch us on YouTube, listen to us on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. We really appreciate the heck out of you guys. Like, comment, subscribe. Tell us what you liked. Tell us what you'd like to hear more about. We're all about making a greater show for you, our listeners and viewers. That's 100% what we're about here. Look, like we talk about all the time, we're not big sports media. We don't have the big budgets, the talking heads, or the fancy suits, obviously. We wear Christmas outfits with reflector vests and working helmets. We obviously don't have the big budgets, so we need your help. So please like, comment, subscribe. You can find us on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Find us on our website, smishow.com. Sign up for our newsletter if you want our daily newsletter with all the latest and greatest NFL news. If you want to find us on Twitter or Facebook, it's at SMI Football Show. Once again, we appreciate the heck out of you guys. I'm Nick Rudman. That's Andrew Mize. Mize, any final thoughts?
Couple quick things. Things to look forward to possibly from us in the next couple weeks. Possible mock draft. So keep your ears perked up for that. Possible special guests in the next month coming up. And that special guest will lead to some more special guests. And I think it's going to be a great end of the season for us at Saturday Morning Inspection. Keep your eyes peeled for all of that stuff. And we will see you next time.
They said, say Nick, but you got up in that bag, yeah. I got racks in my sack, hurt my back, yeah. They said, say Nick, but you got up in that bag, yeah. I got racks.